Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leon Weinstein. I'm broadcasting from the city of Los Angeles, great state of California, and today is September 26, 2020. Recently, my colleague Sergey Kucherov sent me an interesting toy, as he called it. That's a web page that has a United States map that shows every state colored according to the votes in the recent presidential election, meaning 2016. Look at that map. It shows how many people in 2016 voted for the blue, the Democrats, or for the red, the Republicans. According to the electoral count, Donald Trump won the election, but Hillary Clinton won the majority of the votes. You can see it on this color changing table that shows you either electoral votes or popular vote count. The system of electoral votes is not archaic nor counterproductive, as the Democrats often say when they lose. The system doesn't allow 2 or 3 large states to agree behind our backs and always choose a representative they want. The Republic of the United States, and we're a republic, not democracy. Republic is when minorities are protected. Democracy is when 2 wolves and 1 sheep decide by democratic vote whom to eat for the dinner. Republic always stands for the protection of minorities, or at least supposed to stand. Well, let's say it hasn't always happened lately. Initially, the founding fathers said that the majority can protect themselves, while the minority should be protected by law. They noted that the majority, if allowed to unfold, always becomes tyrannical. And I agree with them in this matter. I actually lived in such country where they call themselves a dictatorship of the majority, dictatura proletariata. And I do not want to go back to this ugly experiment we were subjected to. The idea behind the map that Sergey has presented is partially based on what was investigated in the Senate committee under the leadership of Senator Ted Cruz. This investigation culminated in the hearings of Dr. Robert Epstein. You can see him on the screen. He is a senior researcher, psychologist at the American Institute of Behavioral Research and Technology. By the way, he was the editor-in-chief of Psychology Today magazine, and he's a Democrat. And he presents math formulas that cannot be really considered partisan. Dr. Epstein says that his research showed that in 2018, during midterm elections, 3 companies, Twitter, Google, and Facebook, managed to fool at least 2 million people into changing their positions from right to left. By fool, I mean that the viewers, were presented information that pushed them to make certain conclusions, and information that actually was true was hidden from their view. Not realizing that they are spoon-fed rigged facts and misleading information, 2 million Americans changed their minds and voted for Democrats instead of for Republicans. After that, Epstein showed his data and said that those technologies are improving since 2018. Google and others have become much more open about their bias, and he expects that in 2020, those companies and the leftist press will change the minds of 15 to 20 million voters.
Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish they are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
They can use various methods to brainwash people: deception, manipulation, intimidation, and outright lies. They do all that to convince you to change your views, to make you vote for Democrats instead of the GOP. This is what Dr. Epstein, the Democrat, says. And he also says that such ability to manipulate votes scared him a lot. He is afraid to lose the most precious of all rights we enjoy: freedom. Sergey Kucherov made a dynamic map that estimates the election results considering the pressure of the media as well as the population density. The last factor is essential if consider how fast the virus of fake news spreads among the population. People who live in a big city hear others discussing the news on streets, in the office, on the subway. The ones who live in a suburban or rural area may not feel that everyone is talking about something. The chart allows you to play with assumptions and immediately see the result. The visual presentation of the results makes a very clear point. So here are the 2016 results. The blue states are the ones who voted for Hillary and the red states that voted for Trump. But the media pressure in 2020 will be even worse than it was in 2018. It's estimated that 93% of all reviews in the mainstream media about Trump, press and television and the like, were sharply negative. Sharply negative. Using the map, let's set up the media pressure to 93%. See how the country's face turns blue? Yes, of course. We still have Fox News, conservative radio, and conservative bloggers. They are compensating leftist propaganda a little, but they cannot completely eliminate social networks' pressure that plays with us at the subconscious level. The majors have tools to drive people as a herd in the direction they want. Now let's reduce the media pressure to 70%. This is probably be more or less accurate. Now you see how the picture changes. You can play with this toy to see how the election results depends on media bias. You also can see that places like New York, Boston, Chicago, or San Francisco with a large population density affect the outcome. Compared to the areas with low density, with farms, small towns far from the center. Do you notice how much redder these areas become? When people are separated from each other and when there is less pressure from the media's propaganda. Well, now let's see what would have happened if we remove propaganda and people will judge the president and its administration by their deeds, what they did, not what the echo chamber of the media told them they did. What if the media do not yell to our faces? What if nobody is trying to convince everyone that water is dry and sky is yellow? The simulation shows that when you reduce the media's influence down to zero, then the whole country will vote, look at that, for Trump. Every single state except one small place. What is this place that will forever stay blue? The place that will continue vote for Democrats whatever Republicans do, whatever Trump does, no matter how well the whole country is doing, is the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. Why, you might ask? Because it is populated by people who live at our expense. They are addicted to spending our tax money. The more welfare programs they create, the more regulations they impose, the more money they can put into their own pockets or spend on lavish vacations, foreign trips, and exotic girls. That is it. The press and the scoundrels from social networks lie to us every day, even hourly, so that we believe that white is pink and vinegar is sweet.
Exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
They lie to us to make us vote against our own interests. In my opinion, Trump was absolutely right in calling most of our media the enemy of people. Our enemies are the corrupt politicians and media bosses who manipulate us shamelessly through any means possible. They are enemies of our homeland, they're enemies of us, they're enemies of our children, and enemies of our future. If we get rid of them, get rid of their propaganda and lies, if we stop watching and listening to their zombie box called television, read their scum newspapers, you know what will happen then? You might ask. It's very simple. You will vote for what is good for you, not for them. And looks like Trump and Republicans at this point in our lives, are good for us, better for us, the people. If we would vote with reason, using our own heads, we would elect the Republicans over and over and over again. If we follow reason and self-interest, we will elect Donald J. Trump. I'm not in favor of him running for a third term. We will find someone who will continue his work. Don't read those corrupt newspapers. Don't watch their idiotic TV. Think for yourself. And we all will win. Thank you for listening.